to join us. This evening, I want to speak about adaptability. I want to speak about adaptability, and I'll give a definition for this, and then we'll have 2 scriptures, and thereafter I'll be able to share several things, and I want to believe that the Lord will bless us as we do that. As I was checking for the meaning of this, I found a meaning that I liked, that adaptability is as a skill. It refers to the ability of a person to change his actions. So number 1 is change his actions, course, or approach to doing things in order to suit a new situation. Therefore, there are 3 things that are coming out. 1 is change of actions. The second one is change of approach. And this is happening because there is a new situation. There's a change that has taken place. And therefore, this person would like to do those things to be able to suit that situation. Right now, we are going through a season that so much has changed. COVID-19 has brought a difference to so many things that we initially had not thought about and had not even anticipated. But as people, and especially people of God, then it is important for us to ask ourselves, in seasons like now, and there are many other seasons that will come. As young people, there are many other seasons that will come. How do we ensure that we do the necessary changes in our actions and approaches to be able to fit and suit situations that we are going through without, like I'll say later, losing ourselves in the process or compromising in terms of the things that we do? I would like to read the book of Daniel chapter 1, just a minute as it opens. So we are reading Daniel chapter 1, and I want to start from, let me see how far I can go. Let me start from verse 3. Then the king instructed Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, to bring some of the children of Israel and some of the king's descendants and some of the nobles, young men in whom there was no blemish, but good-looking, gifted in all wisdom, possessing knowledge and quick to understand, who had ability to serve in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the language and literature of the Chaldeans. And the king appointed for them a daily provision of the king's delicacies, and of the wine which he drank, and 3 years of training for them, so that at the end of the time they might serve before the king. Now from among those who are the sons of Judah were Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. To them the chief of the eunuchs gave names. He gave Daniel the name Belshazzar, to Hananiah Shadrach, to Mishael Meshach, and to Azariah Abednego. But Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with a portion of the king's delicacies, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore, he requested of the chief of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself. And I think I'll just get that one to there. We'll come back to it. Then we go to 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 20. 1 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 20. If you're there, I hope you're moving with me. The Bible says, and if at any point, if I'm not very clear, please let me know through the chat, and that will be useful. And to the Jews, I became as a Jew, that I might win Jews. To those who are under the law, as under the law, that I might win those who are under the law. To those who are without law, as without law, not being without law towards God, but under law towards Christ, that I might win those who are without law. To the weak I became as weak, that I might win the weak. I have become all things to all men, that I by all means save some. Now this I do for the gospel's sake, that I may be a partaker of it with you. So I'll make reference to these 2 portions of scripture as we think and talk about adaptability. There are so many other skills that we need in situations like now, and even as we go through life. If you look at Daniel, there are many skills we can learn from him. They're being resilient, they're being consistent, and all those things. But allow me today to talk to you about adaptability. And we have said that this is the ability of a person to change their actions or even change their response to be able to suit or to fit a new situation. So this means it is not something they may have anticipated. It is not something that they may have looked forward to or planned for, but it is here with us. And therefore, we must find a way of being able to fit within that thing. It therefore means to fit in, to fit in. Why do I think that adaptability is important? And mostly to the young people that I'm speaking to this evening. Number one is because we live in a changing world. We live in a changing world. And like I said this afternoon, if you listen to my 1 minute from Pastor Bernard Warui, I said that change, we have no control over change. We have no control over things that happen to us. We have no control of choosing whether this COVID will happen or not. We didn't choose. And it is not only this COVID. There are so many things in your life that you cannot choose. But what I said is that, of course, you can choose how you respond. And we'll be talking about that. So we live in a changing world. Things keep changing. You can lose your job tomorrow without you having to choose to lose it or to keep it. You can open your business in the morning, but you have no control in terms of having people come in or not come in. You may have skills, and tomorrow they might become irrelevant, not because you've done anything, but just because the world is changing. It's very dynamic. Things keep changing. And therefore, it is very important for us to be adaptable. Number two is that adaptability focuses on the objective. Adaptability focuses on the objective, and therefore, it is a fruitful process. Its ability to be fruitful makes it very important. What is Paul saying where we have read? That the reason why he adapts, the reason why he becomes like the people he is talking to, is that he may win them to Christ. There is an objective that he is pursuing. And for you and me, we have many objectives that we pursue. Of course, we have the objective of bringing people to Christ. But there's so many other objectives. You want to place food on your table. You want to ensure that you have paid your rent. You want to ensure that if you're a father like me, that your children are well taken care of. And because of these objectives, you find that then there is a need for adaptability. There's a need for you to do certain things to ensure that there is fruitfulness. Number three is that it helps us remain relevant. So we are living in a changing world. We are living in a world that things are changing, which means a skill that you have today, which is very relevant today, may become irrelevant tomorrow. And therefore, the adaptability becomes important because in a changing environment, in a changing world, it helps you remain relevant. It helps you remain relevant. And I want to assure you that unless you are relevant, then life becomes very hard. Life becomes very, very hard. Number four is that it opens a flood of opportunities. You would be surprised if you became adaptable. And of course, not becoming adaptable is being rigid, is holding on. Take, for example, you've lost your job or you've lost your business, but you are rigid. And I will be telling you certain reasons that make people rigid. What you realize is that that rigidity closes up doors for you. But when you become adaptable, what happens is that those opportunities open, and therefore you are able to take advantage of those opportunities. Sometimes when we become rigid, we close doors of opportunities that would otherwise have opened. And I can tell you, the moment I've been adaptable, that I feel that this is how things should be done, and this is how I'm used to doing things. But now that there is a change of environment, I want to be adaptable. I want to fit in. I don't want to sulk. I don't want to sit and complain. Like even during this season, I've discovered so many things. I've discovered so many opportunities, that some that might revolutionize my life completely. Why? Because I accepted to be adaptable. I decided I will not complain. I'll not look at these and say things should be done this way because that's how we are used. But I want to look at the situation we are in, ask myself, what can I do now that this is a change that has taken place? This is a new situation. And you'll find as you do what you have adapted to, a flood of opportunities. I'm using the word flood to mean there are so many, sometimes you can't even exhaust them. The other thing is that it eases tension. Adaptability eases tension. Because one of the areas where adaptability works so well is in relationships. And when you are adaptable, Paul is saying, when I went to the Jews, I didn't go making myself this other person and putting them on their defense. I went and became like them. I adapted to their way of doing things. I adapted to the way they were moving on. And therefore, there was that harmonious. I'm winning them. That means there is harmony. There is peace. Tension is eased. So that is very, very important. Let me move forward. I'm moving a little bit fast, so I hope you are able to walk with me. As we adapt, there are three things that I think we must always be careful with. Because, again, you can adapt and then lose what you already have by trying to gain ground on the new situation. The first thing that you must protect is your authenticity. You must always remember who you are. You must never be lost. Paul is saying, even if I became like one under the law, I was not under the law. Daniel is telling the eunuch, the head of the eunuch, he is telling him that we are willing to adapt, because he would have decided to be rigid. He would have decided to say that I'm not going to get into this. I have come to this land, but I want to stay the way I would have stayed in our city, Jerusalem. Therefore, I'm not going to join that battalion that the king is choosing. But he is telling this guy, I will adapt. I will join this battalion. I will join these guys. But look here, there are certain things, if I do, and we shall be looking at that also, I'll be losing who essentially I am. And the reason why they were being changed names is to alter their authenticity, is to make them almost take an identity of the Babylonians, of the Chaldeans. But these guys say, I can't lose that. You must never lose yourself in a bid to adapt. You might never, anything that interferes with who you are, anything that makes you feel like the image of you that God created is being altered, then should never be welcome. So as we adopt, we must protect self. We must remain safe in terms of our authenticity. You see, when David went to kill Goliath, he adapted. Why do I think he adapted? He did not come to kill Goliath the way he used to do with the bear and with the lion. He never decided, I'll run after, Goliath, I'll hold him and do this. No, he adapted. He said, this is a battlefield. It's not where I'm looking after sheep. So I will go to the river and collect stones and come to the battlefield to fight the way I should fight in the battlefield. But he refused to go in the armor of Saul. Saul thought that for David to adapt and to be able to fit in the war, in the battlefield, then what he should do is put on the armor that Saul used to have. And when David put it on, he told Saul, I can't go with this. Why? I'm not used to it. That is not me. That is not me. So you will adapt to this new environment so that you may win, but you must never lose yourself. You must never put on Saul's armor and go with it. Because sometimes when we are trying to adapt, what happens is that we can easily take up somebody else's way of doing things, somebody else's identity, and we fight. Because even like now, the things that are happening, you may find a lot of competition on certain areas. If it's in the market, if somebody decides to use their car to sell vegetables, everybody follows suit. If people decide to go on TV as ministers, every other minister wants to go on TV. But is there a way that I can adapt? Is there a way I can embrace adaptability, keeping my uniqueness? That I don't become a copycat. I'm keeping my uniqueness as I adapt to this new situation that has come. The second thing that is very important for us to protect as we adapt is our values. What are your values? You must never lower your standards to adapt. Daniel is saying, we cannot take that food of the king because our standards don't allow us to do that. So we would. Yes, we will adapt. We will join this team that is to join. And you can see the success that God gave them. But here we have some standards that we can't lower. Yes, you have lost your job. Yes, you have lost your business. That is not reason enough to compromise. That is not reason enough to feel like for me to adapt and to survive during this situation, then I must get a man who can pay my rent, and then I can give them some favors, some exchanges, or I must now lie that I may be able to get my rent. No, you cannot use adaptability and use the hard situations that you're going through or the new situation that has come as a means of compromising the standards and the values that God has given you. That means as you adapt, protect your values. As you can go to a workplace and you find they do things differently from where you are coming from. You have to adapt to this new working place. But as you adapt to this new working place, you do not. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. I hope it doesn't drop again. So I was saying that you must not lose your goal. And I was giving the example of the children of Israel. So they are passing through, and I want to confirm that you guys can hear me. Can you all hear me, Steve? You can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Okay, thank you very much. I wanted to confirm that. So they're passing through many people, different tribes, different nations, and as they pass through, their eyes should be on the objective, on the goal, where God is taking them. But what happened? They involved themselves with the people around them, and as they adapted to them, they started now making claims. We want to be like them. We want to have a king like all these other nations. So as you adapt, let your goal, let your purpose be the lead. Don't be swallowed up by so many other things that you lose focus on your goal. What did you want to achieve? Why are you adapting? Why are you changing things? If I'm a minister and we are living in these seasons that we are living in, then why am I adaptable? I'm adapting because I want to ensure that even during this season that we are not able to meet as a congregation, I'm still ministering to the people that God has brought into my fold. So my adaptability should remain focused on the goal. Because when you lose focus of the goal, then this adaptability either loses meaning or drives you astray. So it's very important for you not to lose your goal. That why I'm doing this, and your goal also becomes a motivation. That the reason why I'm adapting is because I want to be successful in my job. I want to excel. I want to glorify God in this work environment and to ensure that these people, other than just getting my salary, I also become an evangelist in this ground, in this market. When I keep my eye on the goal, sometimes it can become challenging when you're adapting. Sometimes you may have a boss who is not patient with you. They keep throwing bad words to you. You're coming from a boss who was treating you so well, who was like a father or a mother or a brother or a sister. But here you have a boss who really treats you badly. But you want to adapt to this environment because other than earning your salary, which is a goal, yes, you also want to preach Christ. And therefore, these two goals keeps you motivated. That even if the boss comes and throws bad words to you, when you look at the goal, what I want to achieve, you feel, I will humble myself. In terms of adapting, maybe I am a person who is abrasive, I'm a person who is confrontational, but now that I have come to this situation, I will adapt to this situation because there's a goal, there's something that I want to achieve, and I don't want to lose it. So don't lose your authenticity, don't lose your values, keep your standards, and don't lose your goal. Don't lose your goal. What are some obstacles that prevent people from being adaptable? One is fear. People fear adapting. They fear allowing themselves to thrive in a new environment. They fear putting their foot forward and getting to the deep end. And I want to say you must conquer fear, because adaptability involves taking risks. It involves taking risks. Maybe you have always worked in an office, but now there's no job in the office. It is taking a risk to go drive into the shambas, buy some fruits and vegetables, and believe that you'll come and sell them. If you are a fearful person, you might not be able to do these things. So adaptability cannot walk together with fear. And fear and adaptability takes faith. It takes faith. And fear and faith are mutually exclusive. You cannot have fear and faith at the same time. So you have to deal with your fear. Sometimes the experiences you have gone through in the past have put some fear in you. You know, there are people who don't try new things. There are people who don't even apply for new jobs. There are people who don't even try new businesses. Why? They did a business previously and they failed in that business and they lost a lot of money, and now they are afraid, will I fail again? They have attended so many interviews, and in all these interviews they have failed. And they feel, even if I do a new thing, even if I try to adapt to whatever situation, I will not succeed. They are fearful. You must deal with your fears to be able to be adaptable and to be able to make it through that process. The second thing is ego. People have an ego that prevents them from thriving in a new environment. This is how I have always done things. And you know one thing that you must realize is that today you may be at the ceiling, you may be the CEO of this company, which is a $10 million company, but if you have to grow, you must now jump ship and maybe get into a $100 million company. When you jump ship and get into a $100 million company, you will be at the floor, while in this other company, you are at the ceiling. Many people will want to remain at the ceiling of this small thing. They don't want to adapt and jump into this big one because of their ego. They feel there are things that I cannot do. I remember one time when I lost my job. So I left an employer, one of my mentors, and I went to an NGO. After 1 year, I lost my job. After I lost my job, I went back and talked to my previous boss, and he allowed me to return. And I remember meeting one of the people who actually had lost their jobs, but had come back to the same company, but they couldn't fit. They felt they can't fit. And this guy was honest with me. He asked me, how are you able to go back there and also be able to work? And I asked him why. And he told me, I feel like it is demoralizing. You know, his ego prevents him to do that. And how did it work for me? So I'm in this company. It was an audit firm. And the boss asked me to become the audit manager. He asked me to become the audit manager. I said, no, I've got a new job and therefore have to jump ship. And I went to this other employer. When I went to this other employer, things became hard. I couldn't work there. So I was sacked. Actually, I was sacked, Pastor. I was sacked. And when I was sacked, I came back to this other company where I had left. When I came back, he gave me the position of assistant audit manager. Guess who was my boss? The audit manager was a guy in the previous years who I was supervising. He was under me. Previously, I was his supervisor. Now he is my supervisor. If I allowed my ego to take the best of me, what would have happened is that I would have said, I cannot be supervised by somebody that I used to supervise, somebody that I actually trained and oriented on the job. But I had to know what is my objective, and I had to adapt, come down, be under this supervisor, allow myself to be supervised by the person I trained to do this job. Why? Number one, I have to place food on the table. I have to place food on the table. I have to ensure that rent is being paid. I was paying rent then. I have to ensure my car is maintained and everything is taken care of. But more importantly, I realized that I have to also preach Christ. And this becomes an opportunity to facilitate me to preach Christ. So don't allow your ego to come in between you and adaptability. It is true you have been working in an office, but the job in the office is no longer there. What is available for you to do? Don't allow your ego to stand in between you and that which needs to be done for you to achieve an objective. Very, very important. Number three, past experiences and orientation. Past experiences and orientations can also become a hindrance to us achieving our objectives in terms of adaptability. And I've talked about that you have gone through an experience before. but not also going through an experience before. Orientation, you have been taught this is how things are done. And if things cannot be done that way, you're not willing to have things done in another way. And I want to say that it is very important for us sometimes to discard our past, that we may be able to embrace our future. Because our past many times can become a baggage that prevents us from doing things. You have, like before, when people finished university every time, they got jobs. They were employed. They got big, they were actually exposed. But what times are we living in now? So many are coming out of the university and there are not enough jobs. So when I come out of this environment, how can I adapt? Do I need to insist that because I did economics at Kenyatta University, I must work at Central Bank as an economist? Or do I need to adapt to this new environment and maybe do something different as I adapt and ensure that I'm meeting my objective? So there's a way, keeping traditions can become such a thing that brings people down. If you get to ministry like myself, I found traditions in the there are some religious traditions that are just traditions that they have no backing of the Bible. People have just done them and believe that is how things should be done. But if you have to reach out to people, is there a different way you can do things, adapt, and ensure that you reach more? And that is very important. So you must embrace adaptability and don't allow your past experiences. Don't allow the way you have been captured, the orientation you have received to prevent you from fitting in. We're saying adaptability is fitting in so that you may be able to achieve a certain objective. The other thing is laziness. Some people are very lazy. The other thing that is a hindrance or an obstacle to adaptability is laziness. Some people are lazy. They don't want to adapt. They have been used to simple, easy things. Now things have changed. They have to do difficult things. They have to think. And thinking is work. They have to do manual work. They have to do difficult things that they may be able to achieve an objective today. You must not be lazy. And you must not allow that things were easy yesterday, that today you want to still enjoy that easy. There are people who have moved jobs from one job to another, and then they have come to me and started telling me that this job I'll leave it, it's so difficult, it requires a lot of energy. No, adapt. The other one was easy. Thank God it was easy. Now, a lot of hard work is required. And like John C. Maxwell says, and I keep repeating, many people want to stay downhill, that the good things uphill may roll down and fight them downhill. But what you must do, intentionality says, you are the one to go uphill and fight the good things uphill. And going uphill is hard work. There's no room for laziness. Going uphill is hard work. And therefore, when you find yourself in a new situation, in new circumstances, where things have changed, you must do the hard work to be able to achieve. You must not allow laziness to take the best of you. The other thing, the final obstacle, I'm almost finishing, I don't want to keep you for long, is the desire to fit in. And young people suffer a lot from this, the desire to fit in. They want to fit in this circle. They want to fit in within this environment. They don't want to feel like they're, sometimes when you have to adapt, you are trying new things. And when you are trying new things, you are not moving with the masses. You might find yourself alone and lonely, but you have to do it because you have to achieve your goal. You cannot surrender to fit. You cannot flow with the masses and achieve much. Sometimes you have to be seen as one who is you're becoming a black sheep within white sheep. Don't try to fit in. Don't try to fit in. Do things differently. And I can tell you, I've tried that and it has worked. And many times, that is how you become a pace setter. You become a pace setter by coming out of the crowd, doing things differently, and then the crowd sees how you have achieved, how you have made it, and then they say, and I think we can do it so-and-so's way. The other day I saw a feature on TV about this guy who made, I think it was a seat that could be a bench, and it could also be a table and you sit on. I don't know whether you watched that on TV. And this guy, he traded, and now he has, I don't know how many hundreds orders for him to make. He went out of the crowd, making things kawaida, making the kawaida things. And he decided, let me try adapting. Things have changed. People are having gardens at their homes, which was not normal before. And therefore, for me to adapt to that, and everybody has come to the market and is making benches, I must do something new. I must try something new. I must take the risk. So I come out of the crowd. When he did it, He traded. He will make millions. Of course, many now are following him and trying to do as he was doing. But before they catch up with him, he'll have made millions. You cannot be one person who wants to fit in within the normal crowd, within, it's like fitting in within mediocrity. People are doing things normally. They're moving normally. They're making their sense normally. Come out of the crowd. Try new things. Don't worry. Don't have that desire to fit in within the crowd, but come out and do something new, and that will make a big difference for you. Let me finish by telling you what you need to do to be adaptable or to be able to embrace adaptability. Number one, you must be willing to learn. You must have a willingness to learn. There are some people who are lazy to learn new skills. There are some people who have said, I've reached the edge of you would be surprised that what you know is so little. If you explore the World Bank of knowledge, you'll be surprised about how many things you would know. Every time I go online, I search on a certain topic, I read on a certain topic, I learn so many things, and I've realized that there is no end to learning. You must be willing to learn, and you must be willing to explore. You must be willing to add knowledge and skill to the skills that you have. You cannot remain at the same level. You cannot. And there's one thing. I love my dad so much. But I always give an example with him, and I think I should tell him I give an example with him because my dad was a motor vehicle electrician. He learned in the 70s, started working in the 70s and in the 80s. Those are the times when you opened the bonnet of a car, everything that was in there, ilikuwa mawaya, zimejaa, zimetembea kila mahali. Mawaya hata huwezi jua ni gani inaenda wapi. But my father was so smart. Alikuwa anauda hiyo gari inatembea. Hakukuwa na hizi diagnostic nini. Anaangalia hii kawaya. And he was an expert. Nakuru, Sotik, Eldoret, Kericho, Nyeri, he would always be on the move, making vehicles. He got employed in a company and he did that. Wait until the company, Kenya Cooperative Creameries, went down in the year 1997. And my father didn't have a job. He came out to the market and found magari zilibadilika. Siku hizi hakuna mawaya. Siku hizi ni electronic, ni computer box, ni nini. But he had not learned this. And he was rendered obsolete. Just like that. He was no longer relevant. And he really did a lot. It makes me shed tears when I know what he had to do to get us through school. I was in Form 3 when he lost his job in 1997. What he had to go through to get us through school. Adaptability. Keep adding knowledge to what you know. Keep growing your skills. Don't settle. There's a whole bunch, there's a whole lot of knowledge that you do not have. A willingness to learn. Number two, a willingness to be different. I won't emphasize on that one because I've talked about it when I talked about the desire to fit in. You must be willing to be different. You must get out of the crowd. You must be willing to do things differently. There's somebody who started, people are selling boga the way they want to sell. There's somebody who decided, people nowadays are coming from work late. Everybody is working. The lady is working. The man is working. So let me start cutting these bogas for them as they go to the house. That is adaptability. And then I expect by the time everybody picked up the skill and started doing it, this person had made a catch because people would come to his or her stall. I don't know who it is. I'm just imagining. But giving a simple example that I may make it understandable to you that risk to be different. Risk to be different. In everything that you do, risk to be different. Number three, have an open mind. Have an open mind. Welcome new ideas. Welcome new ways of doing things. Don't be rigid. Don't be rigid. There are people who they have learned this is the way of doing this. We cannot do it in here. No. Open up. Like I said, if it's ministry, let me open up and be willing to learn. You don't bring anything. I remember one time I was somewhere and I went to this group of people and I told them, I think we need to change the way we do this and we do this and we do this. Do you know the answer I was given? I was told the person who decided that this thing should be done this way had a reason why they decided. We don't know the reason, but because they decided, we'll be doing that. Imagine, you lose on the benefits of a new way of doing things. You lose on the benefits of catching on many people because you are rigid and you don't have an open mind. You have a channeled mind, that one that looks at things from one perspective. Have an open mind. Be ready and willing to listen to people. When you're reasoning to people, Be ready and willing to embrace new ways of doing things. Number 4, have a curious eye. Have a curious eye. Stop living life like, like just a bored person walking, and no. Be attentive. Be curious. When you see people doing certain things, be curious to know, why are you doing it this way? If you come and find Pastor Warui has something, be curious. How did you get here? How did you... If you meet me, I'm one person who asks many, many questions because I have a curious eye. A curious eye, that is an image I'm using, that curiosity is very important. That anytime I sit with a person, I want to ask them so many questions because I know as I ask them these questions, there are so many things that I can pick. But there are people who really lose opportunities. They are in a room with somebody who is ahead of them, who have done so much, but they're just seated there. They don't even have stories. Yani wamenyamaziana tu. And this is a person you can ask, how was it during your campus days? When you left campus, how did you fit within the community? How did you go looking for a job? How do you make sure you keep your job? How do you ensure that you live well with your boss? How do you make your customers know? Have a curious eye. Always be curious. Always check. When you go and see a shop where people are flocking and yours, they're not flocking, don't just sit and say, I'll pray. There are things that don't come by prayer. There are things that come by the action that you take. There are things that come by going and inquiring. And inquiring in a wise way. How comes people like coming here? We all go in. If you're running a hotel and somebody else is running a hotel and everybody is going to their hotel, one day go and take lunch there. Have a curious eye. Check how they are treating their staff. Check how they are treating them. Have a curious eye. Don't be a person who lives life just like that. Vile unajua na hivyo unajua ndivyo unajua na hakuna kingine unatafuta kujua. No, have a curious eye. The other thing is have a humble spirit. And when I talked about the ego, you must be humble for you to be adaptable. You must be humble. You may be a king in one room, but when you go to the next room, you are a servant. You are served in the room where you are a king. Don't bring that king into this room where you are supposed to be a servant, because there's an objective. There is something you want to achieve. And I think I talked about that ego when I had to leave this job and go and adapt to a job where somebody I thought the job had to be my supervisor. But that I had to adapt. Be humble. Yes, you have been working in an office, but right now, before you get another job, the best you can do is to sell some sukuma wiki, is to sell some cabbage, is to go to a Komba and come with some old Mutuba clothes and sell. Humility is what will get you there. Humility will get you there. But if you are a proud person, sometimes adaptability may mean moving from your 2-bedroom orange suit to a double room, because there's no need of accumulating. And some people will say, oh, I cannot get, if God lifts me up, I cannot. No, sometimes adaptability requires that you make some wise decisions. Coming from a 2-bedroom because you cannot pay it to a double room as you try to reorganize yourself is not bringing yourself down. Is not living a grace that God had given you. No. Ukilala hii double room bado utapata uzingizi mzuri kwanza. Lakini utalala ile 2-bedroom na hujui kama landlord ama agent atakuja kesho kufunga. Adaptability requires that you sometimes have to make some very hard decisions that can only take humility. That can only take you being humble and saying it's true. I can't afford this for now. I will adapt. I'll move to this smaller one. I'll reorganize my finances. I know I'll shoot again, and I know God will get me to the place I want to go. The other thing that you must have is a brave heart, And I said adaptability sometimes is like putting your feet into the deep ocean, believing that you will be able to swim by faith. So you must be brave to try new things, brave to do things differently, brave to leave the crowd, brave. It takes a person who is brave. If you are fearful and timid, you will remain in the status quo, because the status quo is comfortable. The status quo is a comfort zone, is a place I enjoy because I know my movements. Do you know there are people who have even refused to take jobs in cities because they feel like when they go there, they'll get lost. They want to remain in a city where they know people, where they know where they know how things are done. They don't want to go out of their way. They don't want to take a higher job because they don't want to leave this organization they are so used to. That's complacency. And it's very dangerous. Adaptability says, I am brave. I'll get hold of it and I will be the best that I can be in that situation. Yes, and you know, when you as you rise, you have specialized down here, but now you have become a manager up here. Adaptability says you must be brave enough to say that I can do it, to say that I can do it. And finally, a readiness to work. I said adaptability takes hard work. To be able to fit and to be able to take advantage of a new situation, it takes a lot of hard work. Lazy people cannot make it. And therefore, you must be ready to work. You must be ready to work. You must be ready to work. And I want to pray that as we go through life and as we grow, some of us are young and we are growing, let us always remember that adaptability is key in terms of how we do ministry, in terms of how we do our work, our career, in terms of relationships. Relationships, there's a need for adaptability. That if I go to a new workplace and I find people who are not friendly, and I was used to a place where people are friendly, do I sulk, do I complain, do I get stressed? Or do I find a way of fitting within them and being an influence over them? If I have been with a boss who was soft, who was good, who allowed me, and I go here and I find a very strict boss who can even sometimes talk carelessly, what do? Do I now get stressed and I don't perform on my job and lose it? Or do I adapt? Do I find a way of fitting in without losing my authenticity, without losing my values, and without losing my goal, what I want to achieve? Very important in relationships. Sometimes even when you marry, you may marry somebody and then you realize there's something that you didn't know about that person. You young people, you'll get there. Do I keep fighting this person on this habit they have? It may not necessarily be a bad thing. Maybe they just leave the slippers by the door and you feel that they should take the slippers to the shoe rack. So do I keep fighting this person, or can I find a way of adapting to their way of doing things without losing myself, without losing my authenticity, without losing my values or standards, and without losing my goal? Is there a way I can fit in within this new situation? Is there a way I can fit in with these new things that have come without losing those three key things? And so, of course, you must have defined these things. You must have defined who you are. You know very well who you are. There are many people who desire to meet other people, but they have never met themselves. Meet yourself, know yourself, so that you don't lose yourself in the process. You must know what your values are. If I ask you today, what is your basket of values? What standards govern your life? What would you tell me? And number 3, what is your purpose? Because that's what I'm calling the goal. Why are you? What are you here for? What are you here for? If somebody came and asked you, you've been on earth for 25 years, what are you here for? What have you been trying to achieve for these 25 years? So brethren, I pray that even in this situation, we will do our best to be adaptable, that we may be able to achieve the goal which God has required or has called us to achieve. So the Lord bless you. I'll stop it there. Getting other times you can share on other skills that can help us as we grow in life. Thank you very much.